Retiring alone is one thing. Retiring as a couple, that's an entirely different level of complexity. Because while most couples focus on saving enough, very few talk about how they'll actually retire together. And that's where the cracks start to form. Maybe one of you wants to retire early, while the other wants to keep working. Maybe you have different ideas about travel, downsizing, or helping the kids. Maybe your investments are all in one spouse's name, leaving the other exposed if something happens unexpectedly. And here's the hard truth. Even couples with strong communication, plenty of savings, and a solid retirement plan still fall into traps they didn't see coming. I've seen it all. In 25 years as a financial advisor, I've seen high-income earners with seven-figure portfolios still struggling to align their timing, taxes, and long-term goals. And in most cases, it's not because they didn't save enough. It's because they didn't plan as a team. Hi, I'm Danny Perro, Senior Investment Advisor at CG Wealth Management. In this video, we're going to look at the most common and costly financial pitfalls couples face when they transition into retirement. Because whether you're starting the conversation or already planning to exit the workforce, there are blind spots that can quietly derail your income, your tax efficiency, and even your long-term estate goals if you don't plan together. I'll walk you through 6 of the most important things every Canadian couple should be talking about before they retire, and what you can do now to stay on the same page. If you find this valuable, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more expert financial content. We like the comments, we enjoy the comments, and we respond right away. So let's get into it. Number 1, retiring at different times can create a cash flow gap. Let's say you and your spouse are both 60. You've each had long careers, you've saved consistently, and you're starting to talk about retirement. But here's the catch. You want to retire next year. You're ready. You've hit your savings target, and you want to enjoy more time traveling, spending time with family, and doing what you love. But your spouse, they enjoy their work. They're not quite ready to step away yet. Maybe they want to work until 67 to maximize CPP and continue their employer benefits. This isn't a rare scenario. In fact, it's incredibly common. And if you don't have a plan for it, you could run into what I call a retirement planning mismatch, where your cash flow, lifestyle, and income needs become out of sync. Here's why that matters. When one spouse retires early, they're no longer earning employment income, contributing to CPP, or saving in an RSP. Instead, they need to start drawing from personal savings, an RSP or a TFSA to bridge the income gap. Meanwhile, the working spouse may still be in a high income tax bracket, which could limit your ability to income split or trigger higher household taxes. And lifestyle expectations might change also. The retired spouse wants to spend more time together, maybe travel, maybe renovate the cottage, but the working spouse still has commitments, deadlines, and a Monday to Friday schedule. That tension can strain your finances and your relationship if it's not planned for. So what's the solution? Start with a joint retirement income projection. Model out what happens if one spouse retires 3 to 5 years earlier than the other. Look at the following. What income sources will be available during the gap years? How much you'll need to draw from savings? And whether it makes sense to shift certain assets to the lower income spouse's name in advance. This way, your cash flow stays smooth and you avoid draining your savings faster than you intended. Number 2, you may be in a higher tax bracket than you think. One of the biggest myths I hear from couples is this: we'll be in a much lower tax bracket once we retire. But for many affluent Canadians, especially those with no pension, that's just not true. Let's walk through a scenario. Imagine you and your spouse have a combined $1.5 million in RSPs and have no mortgage, modest spending, and you're both planning to convert your RSPs to RIFs at age 71. Once that happens, you're forced to take minimum withdrawals, whether you need the money or not. At age 72, that's about 5.28% of your RIF. So $1.5 million turns into roughly just under $80,000 of mandatory taxable income. Now add in 2 CPP benefits, let's say $12,000 each, 2 OAS benefits, roughly $8,400 each, and then maybe $10,000 in dividends from your non-registered account. Your total household income is now sitting around $130,000 per year. Most of it taxable. And if all the RRSP savings are in one spouse's name, that income may not be split efficiently, pushing one of them into a higher marginal tax bracket and even triggering the OAS clawback. The CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, starts clawing back OAS when your individual income crosses over the $90,000 threshold approximately. So now you're not only paying more tax, you're losing part of your government benefit, all because of how your income is structured. Here's what proper planning looks like. RSP drawdown in your 60s. You don't have to wait until 71 to touch your RSP. In many cases, it makes sense to start strategic withdrawals earlier, especially if one spouse has retired and their income is temporarily lower. TFSA withdrawals or conversions. One spouse retires early, consider using TFSA savings to bridge that income gap. Since the TFSA withdrawals are tax-free, they don't affect your OAS or push you in a higher tax bracket. Income splitting at age 65. Once both spouses are 65 or older, you can split eligible pension income, including RIF withdrawals. This can reduce your overall tax bill by thousands per year if structured properly. Tax surprises in retirement are common, but they're preventable. It's not just about how much income you have, it's about where it's coming from and whose name it's in. And that's where a tax-efficient income strategy tailored for couples can make a major difference. Number 3, one spouse may live much longer than the other. This is a tough one to talk about, but it's essential. Statistically, women live longer than men. In many cases, sometimes 5 to 10 years longer. That means one spouse, often the wife, could be left managing finances alone in later years. And if most of the planning was handled by the other spouse, well, that surviving partner may suddenly face major decisions. RIF withdrawals, estate planning, selling property, or even funding long-term care. This is where proper survivor income planning comes in. Make sure your retirement income plan includes the following: a clear transition of decision-making, automatic income streams like annuities or joint accounts, and ongoing tax-efficient cash flow, even after one spouse passes. Planning for one retirement isn't enough. You need to plan for both. And what happens if one of you is left to manage it alone? Number 4, misaligned risk tolerance can lead to costly investment decisions. Here's something I see often. One spouse is conservative. They want security. They want income. They want predictability. The other still wants growth, opportunity, and doesn't mind a bit of risk. Now multiply that over a 25-year retirement horizon. If you don't address these differences in your investment strategy, you could end up with a portfolio that doesn't serve either goal well. Maybe you're taking on too much risk in volatile markets, or not enough risk to outpace inflation and meet your income needs. The solution? Build a joint investment policy based on shared goals, not just individual preferences. This is where working with an advisor can help bridge the gap, align risk tolerance, cash flow needs, and time horizons into one unified strategy. Number 5, estate planning is often outdated or missing entirely. When both spouses are alive, decisions are usually made jointly. But what happens if one of you becomes incapacitated or passes away? Your wills, powers of attorney, and beneficiary designations aren't up to date. You may leave behind a legal and financial mess. And here's a specific issue for couples with blended families or adult children. Without clarity, your estate could go to the wrong beneficiaries, be subject to probate, or worse, cause conflict between the surviving family members. A proper estate plan should include the following: updated wills for both spouses, dual powers of attorney for finances and healthcare, a clear plan for how assets transition, not just where they go, and tax-efficient strategies to reduce the burden on the surviving spouse. Remember, estate planning isn't just about death, it's about making sure life goes on smoothly when the unexpected happens. Number 6, the retirement lifestyle itself isn't always aligned. Even couples with plenty of savings run into friction when they retire with different visions. One spouse may want to travel the world. The other wants to downsize and stay close to the grandkids. One wants to buy a cottage. The other wants to rent and keep things flexible. These aren't minor disagreements. They're lifestyle and financial decisions with major implications. You need to have a deep, honest conversation about what retirement looks like for both of you. That includes where you'll live, how much you'll spend, what role work, volunteering, and family will play, and how to navigate those years together. Because retirement isn't just a financial journey, it's a shared life transition, and you both need to be on the same page. The bottom line, retirement planning as a couple is not just about math, it's about alignment, communication, and anticipating the gaps before they appear. When done right, this gives you freedom, confidence, and the peace of mind that you're walking into this next chapter of life together on solid footing. And remember, this isn't just about investing, it's about planning with purpose for both of you. If you want a second opinion on your plan, book a time with me using the link in the description below. And do it with your spouse. My name is Danny Perro, and remember, money never sleeps.